Hello, guys. Welcome to the Unnamed Football Podcast. It's a name that we conquered because we were too lazy to give it a proper name. And each of us are busy in their own life. So, why this podcast? Basically, we thought to present an alternative side to the football narrative that is in existing in the Indian space. What unique do we bring to the table? I think we'll talk a lot about the things that other YouTubers refrain from because majorly because they are too afraid to speak about it because their views will go down. Nobody wants to hear a story about a relegation side or a championship side, or if you're just speaking about those farming leagues. So that's what we can bring to the table. Hopefully, we can engage with you guys more as our episodes go on. We'll arrange some sort of settlement so that we can get you, the viewers, into our shows, engage more. And I am joined by my two wonderful panelists who have been kind in giving this idea their initial conceptual birth. Uh, as you guys might know, Vedant, a fellow Leicester City fan, and Samar, whose face we are also seeing for the first time because he uses a Manchester United picture for majority of his life. So, a brief introduction about yourself, guys. Start with Vedant.
Hi guys, my name is Vedant, and Akash and I have known each other for quite some time now. We both have been to several podcasts representing Leicester City because the market for Leicester City in India is very niche. I think only 50, 60 fans are right now there in India. So yeah, we bring a different perspective, I think, to football in India because everybody talks about the big six clubs. So here we are, supporters of Leicester City, who are right now struggling to be in the league for the next season in a very tough fight in the relegation battle. So yeah, I think we will bring something different to the table, a perspective about clubs, obviously a perspective about clubs who are in the big six, but also outside the big six. So yeah.
Samath, something about yourself as well. Also, for the added benefit, also plug in where you are. That gives a good taste
Yeah,
to this podcast.
I'm actually a doctor. I have recently finished my MBBS, and right now I am waiting for post grad counseling. So yeah, I am MBBS, and I am hoping to be MDMS in the next 3 years. And right now I am located in Jaipur, and yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Samar, over to you.
Thank you so much. It was nice knowing Akash because we met we met of course on social media like 2 years ago, and I think it was an amazing experience. It was pretty new for me as well to know him because he was a Leicester City fan, and I think he was the first ever Leicester City fan I met in India. Same goes with Vedant as well. So right now I'm focusing on my masters. I'm studying in Europe for management. And other than that, yes, I've been supporting Manchester United for almost 15 years now. I started supporting them when Wayne Rooney was playing, Ronaldo was playing, Tevez we had, and then it's been a very up and down story for United fans, especially since Sir Alex left. So it's been a journey. So we've seen all the highs and lows, and yeah, I think for every football fan, it is very important to support your own club, stick to the club into the highs and lows. That's what
Yes, so
defines
that
a football fan.
so that's a brief introduction of ourselves. Now let's talk about football in general. And though we would like to talk a lot about the things that we are passionate for, but I think it's a good time to speak about the Champions League because it's. I mean, for me, I don't even watch Champions League games all that much, except the second leg games because it is becoming monotonous because when you follow a competition for 10 years and every year it's happening, unlike the World Cup, it loses its charm, more so because Leicester City doesn't play in it often. Often is a stretch, but let's go with it. Let's go with it. So I think the stakes are high when we reach this kind of semi-final scenario where teams it's the strongest teams that exist in this competition make it or break it. That's what Champions League gives. I mean that's how it works for me, because it's pretty late in the night when those games happen, and if I'm not an ardent supporter of any of those sides, I don't find myself contributing as much. Give me any additional benefits of watching them following a certain team late at nights. So when the stakes are high, I generally watch them, and this is a perfect scenario, as you have, I think, one of the most interesting Champions League ties this year, because on one side you have Real Madrid, whose staple diet is a Champions League trophy. On the other hand, Manchester City, who doesn't cross that extra barrier every time they come up short some way or another. And in one side you have the Milan derby. So what is your takeaway from this year's Champions League semi-final, and what are you guys expecting in particular?
See, according to me, the thing you said at the beginning is actually very valid, because we are very passionate Premier League watchers. So we are accustomed to, upsets and teams coming out of nowhere, like Leicester City, what Leicester City did in FA Cup, and stories like these. You don't see that many stories in Champions League that often. So that is why it does get a bit boring, Champions League, for supporters who are not of those big clubs. But yeah, regardless, to say that obviously Champions League is a place which has massive viewership. So yeah, I think this year's Champions League is actually quite interesting, because two teams, both from Milan, have actually made their way to semi-finals, which was quite unexpected, to be honest. Because you always expect teams like Liverpool and not Barcelona in the past, but yeah, teams like other teams to be in the semi-finals. So yeah, I think it is pretty interesting this year, and I hope that this year the Champions League trophy arrives in Milan. That is my wish.
Over to you, Sam.
Well, you guys were like pretty good at touching that point that yes, it gets a bit monotonous, and when you see the same team, like winning all the time, Real Madrid, especially in the past 5 6 years, yes, it does get a bit boring sometimes, because there's no one who's out there and who can like compete with them or give them a toe to toe. So that's one point. But overall, I think the tie is very difficult for Manchester City. I still remember the last year, same, they were facing Madrid in the semi-final, and they lost it from there. Uh, they lost the game from a point where they shouldn't have lost. So, and speaking about the Milan derby, yes, I think it's very interesting to see both these Milan clubs coming so far long after such a long time. No one expected them to go so far. And yes, I think it's either going to be Real Madrid winning again, or it is either AC Milan. I feel uh, who should get it.
I have followed AC Milan and Inter Milan a bit more because I was really interested to see how Serie A fares this season before the storm of Napoli took over. But I think that AC Milan is a far better side in terms of securing those clutch moments this year as compared to Inter Milan, because Inter Milan hasn't showed that kind of a promise in that league. So I think for me, AC Milan are clear favorites in this one. Yes, we can be wrong. It's never too late to be wrong or never too early. And on the other side, I would say that it's finally the climax for Manchester City. They have to get across this time, because they have one of the strongest, probably the strongest side in European football, because Bayern Munich didn't even come close in comparison. So I think it's do or die for Manchester City. And well, I was seeing a picture today. Jack Grealish posted they had this Champions League trophy plastered around their medical room. and it was written our goal or our target, something like that. So the mentality is there. Obviously, in front of media, they will accept a close second, but it's pretty much do or die for them. So
You
I
see,
think,
if I have to if I have
yeah,
to
yeah, go on.
predict, I think if I have to predict, I think Manchester City is winning this time. I said I wish the trophy ends up in Milan, but I see Manchester City finally breaking the jinx. I see them winning this year.
And it's also very weird. It's also very, very weird that City has been playing Champions League regularly and they haven't even won it. And considering those four teams, everyone has a trophy to show out of those four. I mean, three of them, and it's just weird because you have this Milan, who is probably the second best team in terms of collecting that particular silverware. But in recent years, they have been in turmoil. They barely survived in the league, if I must say so, because once in a while Syria faces this crazy allegations of fixing and other stuff. So I think they are very lucky to be alive. And those signings, Alexander, Tato, Robino, everything was a shambolic direction for the club to follow. I think they are in a great place with Maldini, and it would be great. But anyone going from this particular group, whether it's Real Madrid or Manchester City, I think it will be very tough to compete,
Beat them.
considering you have an Italian defensive background, because these sides are known for dismantling those defenses. So yeah,
I think everything changed for AC Milan after they signed Ibrahimovic. I think he changed the culture. He brought that winning mentality with him.
okay. So before we go into another topic, unless someone has something to add up to this existing one, just curious. I've never asked this question around. Who is your favorite footballer of all time?
Well, that's a
Mine.
very difficult. Yeah, well, that's a very difficult question to answer because I have a few.
It's
Uh,
not a difficult
but
question. It's not.
no,
You
no,
have
but it
your
is a
favorite.
bit difficult question for me. But if I say the person because of whom I started watching football, then
Harry
it has to
Maguire.
be Wayne Rooney for me.
Oh, acha,
No,
sorry.
Wayne Rooney. It is
Okay.
Wayne Rooney for me. Yeah.
Wayne Rooney of United or Everton?
No, of course, Wayne Rooney of United. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, he was one of the best. And I still remember there was a time in 2011-12 when this Messi and Ronaldo comparisons were on, and many people had Wayne Rooney as a number three, like the
Mhm.
third best in the world. So yeah, for me he was the goat.
Vedant, for you?
See, if I talk purely on football basis, I think obviously Lionel Messi for me is the greatest of all time, which I have seen any player playing the game. But see, the satisfaction which I get from Jamie Vardy scoring, I don't think that there is any comparison. The absolute shithousery that Jamie Vardy gives, oh my god! I
Yeah.
think that there is no comparison to it.
Okay, so I'll keep mine's my favorite for aside for a few moments before we step, and there is a particular reason for that. We'll come into it later. So we are talking a lot about Leicester and other Premier League sides, because Manchester United, we have a Manchester United fan, so obviously Manchester is going to peak around. We talked about Manchester City. Um, where do you stand on relegation this year? Because again, like just like the Champions League, I think it's one of the better relegation scraps that we have witnessed in recent memory. I don't know how much I can rate it because we are amidst the chaos. But if Summer can say, because as a neutral, when the stakes are not that high, because our existence is literally going to be shaped up in the coming weeks. So for you sitting outside, I think it's a very exciting relegation battle. Even 35 points is looking like a safety mark this season, which is pretty low by Premier League standards. But as a neutral overall, because we can't get that perspective, what is your take on this year's relegation scrap? And then over to Vedant. with a follow-up question that except Southampton, who are your two other sides? Even Summer can chip in on that. Who are your two strongly arguable sides that can go to the championship this season except Southampton?
Well, to be honest, watching as a neutral all the sides in a relegation battle right now, I don't think they deserve to be there, other than I think Bournemouth. But the other side, yes, Leicester City doesn't have a squad to be in a relegation battle. I think this was something which I told before. I feel very sad for Everton, to be honest, because they've pumped in a lot of money since the last investor started putting in money. They pumped in a lot of money. You look at the club, you look at the fan base. They're very passionate about the game, and like Everton is the only club which has like never got relegated since Premier League was inaugurated. So if they get relegated this season, I think it is very sad. But they are in a relegation battle. And if I had to put my two, I think it has to be It is somewhere either between Leeds Everton for me.
Vedan, don't you
Yeah,
feel that Bournemouth is a bit on the safer side,
safe.
considering
Yeah. I think Bournemouth is safe. I think Southampton is definitely going down. So if you look at the Premier League table right now, you have Leeds, Leicester City, Everton, Nottingham Forest. These three clubs are at 30 points, while Everton is at 29 points. I think West Ham, interestingly, also is in trouble. They are right now at 34 points. Right now, you might say that yeah, 34 safe hai. 34 तक maybe ये teams नहीं पहुंचेंगी. But I think West Ham is also in trouble because the next two games they are playing against Manchester City and Manchester United. I don't see them beating any of those two teams. So when they would have played 36 matches, two to go, they will be at 34 points according to me. And when you look at the fixtures, I think Leeds to pakka relegate hone wala hai. I don't see Leeds staying up because Leeds are yet to play Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspurs, Newcastle, the new Big Seven. So three of them they have to play, and one is West Ham. So even if they defeat West Ham, they are still at 33. I mean I don't see them getting anything out of it. But I think Nottingham has got a chance because Nottingham, yes, they have to play Chelsea and Arsenal both, but they will also get to play Southampton in the next match. So according to me, yeah, again talking about Everton, see Everton के बारे में मुझे नहीं लगता कि ये बहुत सरप्राइजिंग है क्योंकि एवर्टन बहुत टाइम से स्ट्रगल कर रहा है और बहुत अब काफी इंडिया में भी डेफिनेटली कुछ एवर्टन फैंस हैं और सुन के उनको लगेगा कि सही नहीं है बात बट मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एवर्टन अगर नीचे जाता है तो वो मे बी उनके लिए अच्छी चीज है बिकॉज देर आर सर्टेन टीम्स एग्जांपल्स लाइक बर्नले I think
Mm.
they have changed their philosophy of football and they are playing very good football right now. So 4-5 साल लगातार रेलीगेशन से फ्लर्ट करना मुझे लगता है कि उससे ज्यादा बेटर है कि एक साल नीचे जाके वापस आ जाओ लेकिन अगेन देर आर डिबेट्स रिगार्डिंग दैट बिकॉज फरहाद मुशीरी हु वाज द इन्वेस्टर विच समर टॉक्ड अबाउट ही हैज पम्प्ड लॉट ऑफ मनी एंड दे आर under the burden of huge financial loans so because they are going to make a new stadium and all that तो अगर ये जाते हैं तो मे बी दे कैन गेट इनटू द फाइनेंशियल स्पाइरल बट या prediction according to me Southampton Leeds and maybe Leicester or Everton. I think Nottingham is safe.
Uh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say Nottingham is safe just because I don't think that. But you could be very well in the righteous territory because uh, part of me wants to see Nottingham go down, and maybe that's why I will be biased. But at the same time, Everton this season has been horrible as has Leeds. I don't think Leicester City deserves to go down just because we don't deserve it. We play some good football in times when the stakes are really high. But uh, I mean, the story that we have conjured up over the last decade, I think out of respect for that, we need to stay and maintain this status because we bring a lot of eyeballs around the world into this league. Uh, okay, I can obviously see Southampton going down. So who are the two sides that I have to pick? Everton because they don't have a stable attacking option, outright attacking option per se. Because yesterday when I was watching, I think except Calvert Lewin, who else is there? Neil Maupay hasn't been doing his job since he left Brighton. He's a very diminished risk, and yeah, so Everton leads particularly because they don't know their philosophy or their tactics, what they're supposed to be. They haven't assumed their identity as a whole. When under Bielsa, you knew that this team would perform in a crazy way. They would try to, I mean, match our goals or play on their front foot and step on the gas and try to get the results, no matter the injuries, no matter the strenuous job that they have in hand. And that's the way it was going. So I don't
See,
know. I mean, hate
just
to
to
see
add one
them
more
go.
point,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just to add one more point. Interestingly, if you look at all the teams who are right now in the relegation battle, only I think Leicester City is only the club which is in that fight because of non-footballing reasons. The external factors which have affected our club, like our owners, owners whose worth has fallen around
Yes.
$4 billion, I think. So our club is in this condition because of a financial crisis. While when you look at clubs like Everton or Leeds, they are in this mess because of their footballing. I don't say that we have made the right choices. I mean, sticking to Brendan Rodgers for such a long period was obviously a horrendous decision. But when you look at a long period of time, I think Everton and Leeds deserve to be in this mess.
They do. I can't disagree on that because we have been on a sudden financial crunch and our budget really went down, attributed to other factors. We won silverware not too long ago, two silverwares in fact, if you count the Community Shield. And yeah, we were just. I mean, it was done for Brendan Rodgers after a point, and we'll talk about this in some future episodes. I think we are already running short of time, so there was another topic to be discussed, but I think we can postpone it for the next episode if you guys don't mind. Because yeah, we started late. This is our first rodeo, and things will gradually improve in terms of quality and in terms of our structure, time coordination, etc., etc. But yeah, guys, any final thoughts before parting? And I would like to recommend a book also in the last. So this is a unique thing that we have been doing. We are trying to do. I mean, not doing. Let's not make it a as if we have been doing it for a long time. This is our first episode. So we have come up with this idea that after an episode, we'll let the viewers or anybody watching this know about a book or a series or a movie that we find amusing, or it has made us into a more knowledgeable person in a certain way. We think that it might inculcate it in your life in some imaginary ways. So this week I'm suggesting something, and before I do that, Vedant, Summer, any final words, anything you want to talk about, let the viewers know about you, or I will not do that like subscribe thing because it's below the belt. But yeah, yeah, over to you.
I think Chelsea are very lucky that this season it's not minimum 45 points for relegation,
That
or else I think they would
that's
have been
true.
relegated too, because
Yeah.
their form is pathetic. In the last 8 games, they just scored one goal. I don't know what's happening over there. They have a squad which is like very expensive. I think if you look on paper, it is one of the best squads in Europe, but they're not able to get anything out of it. They're not able to score goals, and I think Chelsea is very lucky that the other teams in the relegation scrap are like very below. If it was like a cut competition for 45, 46 points this season, I think Chelsea would have been going down.
That is why I see Nottingham Forest surviving because they are yet to play Chelsea. So I'm very sure they will do an upset over there.
Okay, so Yeah, before we go, I think next episode should start with the topic that we are leaving at this moment. So, as viewers, you need to know what we are going to talk about. We would have talked about Arsenal because whatever they are doing, I think it presents an argument in itself, whether they are overachieving or they're bottling this season. We'll come back to that. Don't worry. Next week, I think a lot of things will happen for our second topic as well. For the big book recommendation and favorite player, here you go. The first ever book, not in any sports book, the first ever book that I ever read before understanding football. And since after reading this, I mean, you have to have God as your religion. So my favorite player for personality, all the wrong reasons, for doing it all in crazier ways, is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We'll see you later. In sometimes I don't know when this gets uploaded, so we'll see you definitely. And give us your thoughts and comments down below because that matters. Like, subscribe doesn't matter. That one does. So yeah, do your thing. Goodbye. Bye.